Initially, I recorded a TikTok video that explained trying to figure out how to incorporate my business, Rueda, different structures that I could have considered, making a decision about which structure to go down, choosing like the service that I wanted to use for incorporation, what that process was like, etc. When I made the video, it was 10 minutes. That is not going to work on TikTok because people can't handle it. So anyways, I figured I'd just go ahead and post it to YouTube. So here it is. It's a vertical video, which is not usually YouTube-y, but I'm just posting it here anyways. Also, after speaking with ChatGPT, it says YouTube is good for evergreen content, and knowing how to incorporate a business and how to approach that is, I feel like, pretty evergreen. So anyways, hope you enjoy it. I have a ChatGPT AI thread specific to Rueda and building the company. I kind of see it as like an advisor as I'm going through stuff. So when it came time to incorporate and to like make it a real thing, I asked it, how do I go about that? And it introduced to me two key types of business formations or like company formations. And that was LLC and a C-Corp. An LLC, it described, is easier to set up, it has simpler taxes, and it's good for solopreneurs. Solopreneurs, ChatGPT introduced me to that word. I had not heard of that word before. The other type is a C-Corp. And C-Corp is good for co-founders. It's good for those who are planning to raise venture capital or generally issue equity. When you hear of the big, like, money makers, the unicorns, all of the big tech companies are C-Corps. If you go the path of LLC, you have to pick a state that you're incorporating in. If you go the path of C-Corp, Delaware is the best, like standard state. Generally, so this is what I told ChatGPT. I'm a solopreneur. Taking venture capital is not important to me right out of the gate, but it's something that I might want to consider in the long term. And so I asked, if I go LLC, does that prevent me from raising venture capital in the future? And ChatGPT said no. I can start as an LLC and then later convert it to a Delaware C-Corp. Of course, that will require a lot of documentation and paperwork, legal help, tax help, etc. But I basically decided, given my situation right now, I'm going to start as an LLC. So next steps were I needed to decide a state that I would incorporate in, pick a name for the company, and then appoint an agent. ChatGPT also told me I could use something that's called a formation service, which is a company that could help set up a lot of these things, and it would run around $200 to $400. And then some of the ones that it recommended for a formation service are Zen Business, Northwest Registered Agent, LegalZoom, etc. So I talked to it about picking a state because that wasn't an obvious choice for me. So I spent a lot of time in California. Right now I'm in San Francisco. I stay in my sister's extra room while I'm here. This is her apartment. But also I travel around a lot. And I grew up in Texas. My license says Texas. The Texas address is the most permanent one I have. And recently I've been spending a lot more time there with my parents. And anyways, I decided after speaking with ChatGPT that incorporating in Texas made the most sense for me, given that that's my most permanent address and that I will continue to spend more time there. So we, after selecting a state, then the next thing was choosing a name. I needed to get a registered agent. I needed to file for a certificate of formation. I needed to apply for an EIN. There was a lot of steps after that. And so I decided to use a formation service. So actually pay someone to help me with this. And we talked about some of the different options, but ultimately ChatGPT, the AI, recommended Zen Business, which it described as the best all around for first-time founders, which is me. Very beginner friendly. It includes an operating agreement. It includes filing this EIN, which is a critical tax number. There's good customer support, etc. So then I started the Zen Business process. I selected the state. I submitted my business name, Rueda. And during the process, I asked AI a lot of different questions, including what's a business license report and do I need it? It said no. So basically, while I was going through the Zen business process, it asked me a lot of questions, and sometimes I didn't know the answer, so I would talk to ChatGPT about it to get its thoughts. ChatGPT says I didn't need a business license report at this stage. I asked, do I offer products or services? And ChatGPT said I offer digital services, specifically digital or educational. It gave me a line to describe Rueda because I had to submit a description of the company, which is a suite of tools that teach emotional intelligence or emotional literacy skills. I asked, do I need to trademark? And ChatGPT said, no, you don't need to. It might be something that you explore in the future if you want to build a long-term brand. So anyways, I went through that whole process. The next day, Zen Business got back to me and said that Rueda was not available as a company name in Texas. So I got really sad. I'm very attached to this name. And I was like, should I switch states? Like, whatever. But I went to ChatGPT and said, can you help me generate some options for different names? So it gave me a lot, and they all had the word Rueda in them. And it reminded me that I can still use the term Rueda even if my LLC is slightly different. So it gave me some options of names for things that were function-oriented. So an example of that would be Rueda Technologies, values-oriented, Rueda Human, platform-oriented, Rueda Hub, creative-tilted, Ruedaverse, educational tilted, Rueda Learning, and yeah, so anyways, I went back, responded to Zen Business with a ranked list of what I wanted, and at the top was Rueda Hub, LLC, and I ended up getting that one. And I chose Rueda Hub because of the metaphor. I talk, of course, Rueda means wheel, and I talk frequently about how Rueda is the center of the wheel, and then each spoke is a different product that I'm building. So Rueda is literally the hub, and I liked how, yeah, it was a good metaphor. Rueda Hub. That's my official LLC name, Rueda Hub LLC. Then Zen Business had a sales rep named Damien call me. He left me a voicemail initially, and his voice really sounded like AI. Like, I was a little bit like, are they having an AI call me? And I did not like how that felt at all. But then that was in a voicemail. We did end up talking, and I do now think he's human. I did ask him where he was, and he wouldn't answer that though, but I think he's human now. Generally speaking, we talked for an hour, and he tried to upsell me the entire time on services like banking, accounting, domain, taxes, etc. Generally, I have products that I'm already using for some of those, or I have things that I'm intending to use, or I haven't done enough research yet to be able to select anything that he was saying. So I didn't bite on any of the upsells. And frankly, I felt like the call was a little bit too upselly and not focusing on the present. For example, this service, Zen Business, the final cost ended up being $700. Rather than, I was originally quoted a couple $100s. And I felt like even when I went through the whole process, never once did it say it would be $700. I just saw that on my bank statement. And so I felt it was not very transparent. And especially because we spent over an hour on the phone talking, and he told me about everything else under the sun except how much it was going to cost me. So I ended up calling him back and letting him know I felt very misled, and I felt like they weren't being very transparent. I didn't expect a refund or anything. I'm glad I used the service, but I think in the future, if I started another business, I might try to do it solo, or like try to do these steps on myself, because it felt like a little bit too. I was like, dude, can we focus on the present instead of all of this other stuff, which I'm not very interested in. I will say, he said something kind when I was like, he was going through his regular sales rep kind of questions, and when he asked what the business was and I was describing it, he was like, whoa, this is one of the most unique businesses I've ever heard. And so that felt validating, that he was like, this is very different. And then I guess the final thing is, in the process, they set it up, and then they also helped create 2 very key documents one of which includes an EIN, and I will do another video about that, but it was really nice to work with them to especially get these two documents crisped up. All right, I hope you enjoyed learning about incorporation and all that involves.